I'm here to talk a little bit about NuData security in brief. You all saw the video, but marketing wants me to throw some facts at you. After that, I'm going to go through a quick disclaimer. Then I'm going to talk about leveraging a CI/CD pipeline, as well as some facts on security versus compliance. And then we're going to end it up with some CIS benchmarks, which you'll all know all about when this is over. This is a little bit more technical and in-depth than some of the other talks, but I hope you'll all enjoy. So first off, NuData security. You can see the facts on the board. They're all exciting. We deal with a lot of large companies, large e-commerce, as well as large banks, to detect things like, hey, this husband, wife, or partner, whatever it is. The differences between them, detect who's logging in, as well as, oh, hey, suddenly cousin Barry is trying to rob them of all their money to, I don't know, become cyborg. A little bit about me. At NuData Security, I lead our platform team. That sort of is like the pipes and plumbing for how everything happens. Previously, I've been called DevOps engineer, which a little bit of an interesting title. I'm sure everybody has opinions on it. And before that, I was a systems administrator, so I come from the ops background, so not a core developer. I've been told by our security team that I'm more of a chaos engineer because I like to go break things. It's fun. Otherwise, you've already heard about my blog. My Twitter ID is up there. Feel free to follow me or send me a message. Quick disclaimer. And I'm forced to do this because we were recently acquired by MasterCard. But basically, all views expressed in the presentation are my own and do not reflect the views of NuData Security, MasterCard, or any past or future employer. So, moving on to some actual interesting content. What is continuous? Insert term here. We got a bunch of them on the screen, and the dog is often me when I hear people talking about this personally. Everybody seems to have their own idea. Amazon has a good definition, I feel. But just to reiterate, continuous integration is taking your developer's work and once it's submitted, immediately testing it and giving them immediate feedback. Whereas infrequent integration is when you get the large pain points of, hey, this development team has done a bunch of work for months upon months, and now you're trying to commit it into the main branch. Stuff like that causes problems, right? I'm sure that, well, I'm actually not sure. I don't know what the demographic here is. If you are a developer or an engineer or an ops person, you've probably felt this pain at some point when you've worked on a project in a silo for a couple months, and then you're trying to merge it and get it out. It's the big pain point that a lot of organizations feel. Moving on from that to continuous delivery kind of incorporates two different phases. One is continuous deployment, where you're deploying it to an environment so that way a stakeholder can verify it. That's commonly what we do at NuData. And then there's continuous release, which we don't really practice. It's where you're deploying it to prod. We tend to not find it enjoyable to deploy things on a Friday night when everybody wants to go to the pub and bar and get a couple drinks. So generally, we treat release as a more strategic item. In comes Jenkins. Who here uses Jenkins? Show of hands. Who here uses Jenkins personally? Okay, so there were a couple hands to that one, not as many. What sort of things do you automate with Jenkins? And in AWS, I tend to automate things like building AMIs, deploying AMIs. That's where my Packer lives. That's where Terraform lives. CloudFormation, if you use CloudFormation. How do you manage auto-scaling groups? Do you log in and do it yourself, or are you incredibly lazy and you want to just automate it a little bit further? I fall into that category usually. And there's other complex tasks like kicking off a data pipeline, maybe kicking off machine learning, whatever floats your boat, right? Whatever you want to automate, Jenkins can do. General feeling? Yes? No? Jenkins users, you had your hands up earlier. Which ones of you feel yes? How do you grant access to Jenkins? And I know none of you are going to put your hands up again, but how many of you who use Jenkins put 2FA on top of your Jenkins installation? How many of you hide it behind a VPN? How many of you use shared service users? So that way somebody can automatically log in where somebody else has seen that password. I don't think any of you are going to raise your hands, but I'm sure there are people here who do that.